click the cool. So here's the platform overview. Let's see. So the goal is to give free mental health sessions for every Colorado youth. So it was a House Bill 21-1258 that charged the Behavioral Health Administration to create a temporary youth mental health service. So in May 2023, the Colorado legislature renewed the program through at least June 30th, 2024. So this might be the last year that iMatter will be available, unless they renew it. And iMatter gives youth up to 6 mental health free services for with a licensed therapist, and it serves 18 years and younger and 21 and older, or 21 and younger, so 19 to 21, with special education services. So that one you need approval for. But they implemented a statewide public awareness and outreach campaign, and it gave awareness campaign from web platform, and we're informed with youth feedback. So here's a program walkthrough. So I did my best trying to go on the website and implement some photos just so you guys actually see what the website looks like. I went as far as I could. So parents and guardians can fill out the survey for you. But if you're 12 years or older, you don't need a parent or guardian to fill it out. You can do it all by yourself. 11 and younger will need parental consent. But to get started, you click this is the front page of iMatter, and you're going to want to click the youth section if you're doing it yourself. So read the survey intro, select next, and oh, this is not. There we go. Select next. And if you need to talk to someone immediately, please use the Colorado Crisis Service hotline. Number's right there, and it's all throughout the website if you will need it, or just search it up on Google and it will come up. But again, 12 years and older, you can do it yourself. So you're going to select yes, and next to begin the mental health screening. You have to do the mental health screening to be eligible to sign up for free therapy sessions. And then you're going to want to select the age group that you're in. So this just asks if you're 12 or older, so you can do it yourself. If you're under the age of 12, then you're going to need to talk to a parent to help you fill this part out. And then you're going to do some general information about the current level or the services you're receiving. So it's just going to ask again to confirm your eligibility to make sure that you can do it all yourself. And you'll be, if you're 19 to 21, you'll be asked about special education services. And if you're currently enrolled in therapy, you're still available to do this service. It just might be best to stick with the therapist that you currently have just because they know you the best. But this is what the emotional behavioral substance use, like current level, it's just age, stuff like that. And then you're going to want to fill out the pediatric symptom checklist to see, to find your therapy needs. So it's just so that therapists know your emotional and behavioral symptoms, and they can help like speak to you the best and find someone who's best matched with you. And if there is so for the pediatric symptom checklist, you're going to do like fidgety, unable to sit still, and it's just on a scale of 3. So never, sometimes, often, stuff like that. Super simple. Try to answer them as honestly as you can. It's just to help find someone who can support your needs. And then you're going to provide some information of your general life needs regarding food, utilities, transportation, stuff like that. So life needs or social determinants of health can contribute greatly to your mental health and well-being. This is items such as having food, clothes, medicine, utilities such as water, electricity. And you're just going to go through this. If none of this applies to you, there's a no button. Just click no, and then move to the next. To transportation, kept you from medical appointments, stuff like that. So you don't have to answer these questions if you aren't comfortable with it. Again, it's just to try and help you find the best person for you. And then provide information regarding substance use. Please do this as honestly as you can. It's important for them. I mean, if you're not comfortable, you can skip through this. This is just in case you need to find a therapist with substance use disorder or something's going on with substance use. And it will just again, help you find your therapy needs. So they're asked questions like during the last 12 months, how many days did you drink more than a few sips of beer, wine, or any drinks containing alcohol, or use of marijuana, cannabis, weed, oil, wax, stuff like that. So just try and answer truthfully. It's all just to help you. And then you're going to review your score and see if you'd like to proceed with these free therapy sessions. So each person's going to be given an individual score. So mine's going to differ from Ben's, and Ben's going to differ from the rest of you. So they'll give you your PSC score, your craft score, and if you do want to continue with these free counseling, you're going to click yes, and click that next button. Do we have any questions so far? Are we following along? Let me know if anyone needs me to slow down too. So then you're going to provide your information to register. So if you're 12 and older, again, you don't have to put in your parent or guardian's contact. If you do choose to, they will receive a notification, but they cannot access anything that you talked about during that therapy session. So you're all safe there if you don't want them to know what you're talking about or just are uncomfortable with that. But they're going to ask some general questions such as your name, date of birth, contact information, just to get you registered for the program. And then you're going to provide preferences for selecting therapists. This is if you're looking for a preferred language or any other, I guess, special requests. But I know the only two languages that iMatter has right now is English and Spanish, if that is your preferred language. But there's more services offered online rather than in person. So if you are more comfortable with online, that might be your best way to go. And you can select your area of need, anxiety, grief, relationships, trauma, stuff like that. You can choose more than one. This will just help connect you to the right therapist. For example, one might specialize in anxiety, whereas the other might specialize in depression. Someone might specialize in both. And then if you want to include your health insurance, it might be helpful for you in the future, just so that they can give you therapists with your health insurance. They will not contact or bill you for those free sessions, but if you want to continue on past these 6 sessions with that same therapist, it just might be an easier transition. And then you're given options and bios to view available appointments. So this is going to be asked for you to review your therapist options and bios, and you're going to select kind of who you want and who you like. If there's unavailable from this list, click back and choose online from the sessions on the previous screen. And then you're going to select a slot of a therapist availability. If they aren't available, there is a waitlist button. You're going to want to scroll all the way to the bottom of that page, and you're going to be prompted to fill out a waitlist form, and this will ask you for your availability and any other information necessary to schedule that session. And then you're going to be taken to the same confirmation page that someone that scheduled the session would be taken to.
Hey, Reece.
Yeah.
We do have a question that came up in the chat. And this is a really terrific question because I know it goes right to the heart of some of the concerns that we've heard from some teens in the past. So, based on our understanding of the website, if you're over the age of 11, you should be able to do this without a parent or guardian
Mhm.
throughout the whole situation. But I wonder, Reese, if you could maybe, I don't know if it makes sense to go backwards in the slides
Yeah.
or something. And this might, KK, I don't know when this was that you're talking about, but I wonder if this is maybe even like a newer development as well, or maybe if the website was a bit confusing that kind of steered you in the direction where your friend was not able to do it alone. But yeah, if Reese, if you want to maybe go over that part again, just to make sure that we are able to really communicate how to go about that.
Yeah, so I would just make sure you're clicking on the youth versus the parent survey and select that you are 12 and older. That could have been the first problem. But you shouldn't need to provide their contact information. If you want to, I could also look more into it. But I know when I was going through the step by step, I didn't need to, like, just to take the screenshots of stuff. It didn't make me put in the parent information, so they could have changed it. Um, do you Yeah, did that help answer your question? I don't know, they might have updated stuff since they first started the program because I believe the program started during like close to COVID time.
Yeah, that definitely helped. When I did it, it was around like last year, so it would make sense that they updated it.
Okay, I hope so because I mean, that's like their main goal, is just to make sure that you can access it without parent consent. Um, but yeah, I hope it works. If it doesn't, send me like an email or something and I can reach out to them and I'll talk to them or something. But I can totally double check with them and email them, make sure everything's kind of fixed. So, where were we? Therapist bios, wait list. Oh, it was just the appointment details and the consent boxes. So again, you're gonna need to confirm that you've provided the correct information, look at that appointment detail, make sure everything's correct. You're gonna click the consent box and click submit. Even if you're in the wait list, you'll go through the same process. And then before proceeding, the consent FAQ can help determine who is legally able to check the consent box. Um, by this is mainly for your parents, but once you click consent, you're legally able to provide medical decision and making authority. And then waitlist, same thing, and then hit submit, and then you should get an email. Has anyone else gone through this process? Was it pretty simple? I don't know if anyone. So then once your day of the appointment comes up, you'll get an email and you're going to click the click here button, and it will take you to the screen where you can join now and connect a call to your therapist. So that's kind of a little program overview. Was there anything else that confused anyone or any other questions that we had about that program step by step? Cool.
Um, I had a question. So what happens like after your like therapy sessions? You're like, what was it, six
Yeah,
therapy
you get,
sessions?
it's
Does
sick.
it just get scheduled with your insurance or like how does that work after that?
Yeah, so if you wanted to put in your insurance, you could, and hopefully you could stick with the same therapist. There's actually, let's see, I think there's, okay, maybe there's not an FAQ for that, but you should be able to go through those free therapy sessions, and then if you went through your insurance, they should be able to like continue on with you. If your insurance doesn't cover that much therapy, they will try to help you out with like finding ways for you to pay for it, and getting it covered. Does that help answer that question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But everyone has different insurances, so it might be various. So if you have like Medicaid, they can also help provide, I guess the best way I'll write it is scholarship, or like it's a terrible way to put it actually, but just like aid to help you guys. Any other questions before?
And I do just want to highlight, because the question about parental consent is a big one that comes up a lot. If you pass that 6 free session term, do switch to using insurance, at that point your guardians will be able to see through those insurance statements that you are seeing a counselor. So that at that point, it's difficult to do this anonymously.
If you do put your insurance too, it's they won't notify your insurance company. So they won't charge you for those 6 free sessions. Afterwards, if you want to continue on with the seventh, they will notify your insurance company. And so your parents or guardian will be able to see the therapy session too. Um, they just did it so if you wanted to continue on, but I'm sure it was also for polls too, like Ben said. Um, what else? It's the reason they did 3 to 6 therapy sessions was just because of the funding that they got. So if they could offer more, they probably would have, but that's their budget.
Yeah, I think it started off with 3, so 6
Hmm.
is actually a bump, which is super nice. Um, so Reese, are we at the point where we can jump into discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you want to do the FAQs, but
Yeah, so that makes me think too. We are going to send this out to you all, this slide deck, so you can feel free to read through all of the frequently asked questions. There's just quite a bit there to
Yeah.
cover this in this presentation, but we do want to leave space for any questions that you have. And to get us started with that, I do have a question that I'm going to toss into the chat. And so that question for anyone who maybe can't see the chat or for the recording is, if you are familiar with iMatter, what would you add to the conversation for the benefit of the group? So is there anything from this presentation that you feel like we missed that you think is important for everyone to know? All right, and just to mess with people who are watching this recording, I'm going to pretend that someone just talked that whole time and they missed the whole thing. Except I just told everyone I was going to do that, so that won't work. All right. I'm going to toss in the last question that we have, which is just a broad, what questions do you still have? And some of these we might be able to look up in the frequently asked questions section. Some of these, if you're patient enough, we can absolutely do some digging after this call and get back to you if you have questions for us that we cannot answer today. But what questions do you still have about iMatter? Yes, KK.
So at my school, we have quite a bit of advertisement for the program. There's like pamphlets and stickers and posters and things like that, but no one really notices it because it's kind of been around our school for the past 2 years. And um, also there's such a big stigmatism behind therapy that I don't feel like it's being utilized, at least in my school. I use it, but I've also known about the program for a while and looked into it. Um, so I guess my question is, how should we get more of the average student to like look into the program?
That's a really great question. I would definitely say I was impressed, and Reese could probably speak to this even more. I was impressed when I started to look at the website, the iMatter website. There's actually a lot of resources there, and I think some of that is also promotional as well. So maybe it could be as easy as like changing up the signage, maybe talking with someone inside of your school, like maybe we could like freshen this up a little bit, make it a little bit more visible, or maybe print, 8x11 posters that we can hang up like around the school as like a campaign or something. I mean, I think you would need to get the approval of your school to do something like that, but it might be as simple as that, if not actually talking. And especially if you have used this yourself and you found it beneficial, I think that is a really important talking point to help convince your friends that this is something that maybe is like worth trying if they feel like they need it.
I totally agree with Ben too. I feel like sometimes there's a huge stigma around mental health and therapy, which I'm honestly glad 2023, 2024, we've come a little bit more, I guess, closer with terms of how mental health is a real thing and to be aware of it. So I guess it's just destigmatizing mental health is one of the biggest things we have going on because I personally love therapy. I know people that love therapy. So I think it's a great resource. I'm from California, so from San Diego, California, and I wish we had this. I think a ton of people could benefit with it. So I just think talking about therapy in a positive light or even mental health in a positive light, just being aware of it is a good way to get it around too.
Awesome. Yeah, Jada.
So this is kind of a more general question, and it kind of relates to the question that was just asked. But so I was wondering how like you both personally have dealt with like getting rid of the like taboo and the stigmatism around it towards parents, like instead of the youth, more towards the parents. because at the end of the day, like you said, the insurance or whoever ends up paying for it is gonna like ultimately be the parents.
Okay, that's super interesting. So my family, it when I was growing up, it was kind of weird when I was like, "Hey guys, I think I need therapy." Like I took Prozac for a little bit, so I don't mind saying it out here. I stopped taking Prozac though. I have a best friend who's just has to stay on Prozac, so it was just a lot of like talking to your parents and really getting used to it and kind of bringing it in there. Like, hey, like therapy's really helped me a ton. I enjoy talking to someone. I enjoy seeing therapy. I got therapy when I was 18 because I kind of just booked it all myself and was like, okay, I'm an adult. I can go find someone and go see someone. But definitely try to bring it into like conversations. And I know that's hard sometimes, but you don't necessarily like, have to like say it every single time super hard, but maybe like bring it in like, hey, look, I really want to talk to someone. I think it would help me and I think it would benefit me. Kind of break it down a little bit slower. But now my brother goes to therapy and he needed it and he loves it too. So I think there could be a good gateway opening in, but I think it's just about like conversation and trying to make people comfortable with that conversation, which is not easy. I get it. It's not easy at all.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that maybe generationally is beginning to shift, which is good. I know I personally my oldest kid has taken advantage of iMatter as well, but I feel like the millennials maybe are that first generation where there was a lot of intentionality around really like normalizing getting help for your mental health. I think some parents see it as an indictment on them in some way, which is just really unfortunate that that's a barrier that they kind of have to get through. Once again, I do think that the website, the iMatter website, because there is sort of this track for parents as well. I can't speak to exactly what's there, but I would imagine that they have some suggested talking points and things like that. To the point about um, like whose responsibility that should be. I do feel like we really want to emphasize that if you're 12 or older, that you can take advantage of this yourself without having to communicate with a guardian at all. I do think that it's a little bit unfair to expect youth themselves to advocate to their own guardians and parents if that's a sticking point. If you feel like that's really important that you need to do that, totally understand. But also, I just want to normalize that it's okay to get the help that you or your friends to get the help that they feel like they need, even if it's something that's not supported at home. And that's why this program was designed the way that it was, where it's accessible by 12 and up without that parental consent. But I think that organizations that do message to adults, I think, could do a lot to help promote this, to help normalize not just your own mental health, but also the fact that your children, that them getting help is no different than you getting help. It doesn't mean anything bad about parenting or like anything like that. I think helping to kind of break some of those ties is difficult and probably not a very fast thing. I would imagine if people feel comfortable doing it in your community, so maybe not like having a one-on-one discussion with a parent about this, but maybe encouraging your school to hold a parent night where maybe if there are a handful of young people who are taking advantage of iMatter, who could speak to why they take advantage of it, what benefit they get out of it, to just sort of help to paint that picture too, that would serve to destigmatize for probably both generations, right? The guardians as well as the youth themselves. That's just an idea on the top of my head, but I'm sure that there's a lot more we could come up with a good brainstorm too. But we will look at that website and see if we can find some specific resources. We'll send you just the general link for the website too, but we'll do some digging to see if there's any like tips and tricks there for this conversation. And I really appreciate you bringing that up. It's not something that we talked about before today, but that's a really, really important consideration.
I think what's important too is just make sure you have not it doesn't need to be your parents, but just like a guardian who's there for you and like willing to speak with you and kind of help you. Because that was kind of me. I had like a teacher at school that I'd go in and talk to, and they helped me out. So I don't know if your parents aren't too into it or flexible, like just make sure you have someone on the backside that can kind of help you out when you need it. But iMatter does have a really good like full-on Dropbox with all of this information, like Ben was saying, that will let you guys dig in a little bit further, let you guys get into the resources that you need. Do we have any other questions?
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.